This episode is insane. It's so insane. The numbers are going to blow your mind with this new co-living building from the ground up. I hope you enjoy it. I'm dive in with my friend Dave Edwards, who have just really recently become a friend, and we're going to do some business together because I trust this guy a lot, and he comes very highly recommended by some other people that I trust. I think you're going to learn a ton from him as we talk about building co-living buildings from the ground up, which I believe is the future of co-living. So check this episode out. Please don't forget to share it and subscribe and give us that 5-star review so we can get the word out about co-living investing to investors and how this model can also change people's lives and solve affordable housing. Thank you so much for your support of our podcast. What I'd love to do today is share with people a little bit about your story. Mm-hmm. I'd love to share with people just how you even got into co-living,
right?
In the first place,
which is a fun story in itself. Right.
Yeah, hell yeah. We'll dive into that. And then I just would love in this episode to talk about building, man. And I'd like to kind of just go back and forth with you. I feel like that's something you're ahead of the game on. You're ahead of the curve on the building. I just got off of a call today with my builder, and we just contracted for architectural, structural, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing plans. $13,000 worth of freaking plans.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so we're moving ours forward here in Charlotte too. And I really think it could be. And even my builder is like, literally my builder today, he goes, Sam, I'm going to keep my GC fee as low as I possibly can on this deal because I want to invest with you in these homes. Like I want to build more. I'm like, great, find me more single family lots that I can build on. So my point in saying that is I think there's a future with these builds, and I want to deep dive into that because I think that's something that you've got a real big expertise on too.
All right. So I am a New York guy, right? I'm born up in upstate New York. So some people might know there's more to New York than New York City. Went to school there.
There is, really?
There is. There's like trees and deer and stuff, and people get them every year. My brother gets a new car because he's run over another deer. But I went to Manhattan after I got my degree in marketing because where else are you going to go? And that was fine until I got married and had kids. I was like, all right, we're going to do something. So we moved on to Texas. The idea of Texas, my kids can go outside and I have to worry about getting peed on by a homeless guy. And that was the goal, right? Get away into some open space. So we come down here, but then we get into real estate investing. And my first investment is that one that, 3-4 years ago, Bigger Pockets was touting, right? Get into this property that is 1 or 2% rule. Get in one that you can afford. Just buy one, move, and keep trying to churn into it, right? Find a property manager so you can focus on just the numbers and finding that next deal. And I did that. All right, we've bought a house for about $78,000. I was going to rent out for $1,200 a month. So like 1.5%, deal, right? We got a property manager on that. We ran that. It was great for the first year. Now that first year is 2020, okay, which is first year of COVID. All right. So I got this woman in my house. She's a single mom. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. My idea was, listen, she's going to be in the bedroom. Her daughter's in the bedroom. She's got the other bedroom for her work from home job. During COVID, it was fantastic. And it seemed fantastic through December of that year. I get a paycheck, or I get a check every month. Everything is good. No issues with payment until she disappears in December. We show up. We find out she vacated the place, left a bunch of junk. And she had apparently lost her job back in March, a month after moving into my house. How is it that she's paying on time every month? Well, she turned my house into a strip club.
You gotta pay the bill somehow, bro.
She turned my house into a strip club. She was industrious. She got in there. She did what she had to do. She took care of her kid. I'll give you that. But she turned my house into a strip club. And from that, I learned a couple of things. Hey, give the neighbors your card or something so they can get a hold of you. Because no one did. They couldn't get. All the women in the area knew something was up. Because all these women's husbands are disappearing at 7 o'clock every night. And they knew something was going on. But they couldn't get a hold of me to tell me what was going on. But she destroyed my house. I went in there, and there's 3 black leather couches. You know the ones I'm talking about. The 3-seater black leather couches surrounding the whole.
Never seen those.
Never heard of that? Yeah.
Never heard of that.
Couch, overstuffed, sitting there in the living room in a U shape around a pole that she literally bolted to my floor joist and my ceiling joist. This was a quality job. She must have had a contractor come by to install this pole. Like, she contracted on this. Every wall in the house was sticky. Now, I don't want to make a conjecture, strip club, sticky walls, but something was going on there. Every wall was sticky. There was glitter everywhere. You know how hard it is to clean glitter out of a house? Ridiculous.
I have no idea.
This is my first experience as a renter. Okay, she destroyed my property in like the best story way. So it was fantastic. Anyway, I lost money on that deal. I cleaned that house up. I sold that house the next year to somebody else. And I said, all right, what do I want? Well, I don't want just one renter. I want to have access to this house whenever I want to have access to this house. Because I want to make sure that if there's a strip club going on, I at least get invited. And, and I heard...
I'm dying over here. I'm like tearing up.
Right.
This is the craziest.
It's an important.
Like we've all heard the stories about like people come in, they destroy the house, but never in this creative of a way, man. This is freaking just hilarious in so many ways.
Thank you. It's good to have a good story. I've at least that's how I console myself. It's good to have a good story.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, so out of all that, knowing my trials and tribulation with having one renter, not having access to the house, not really knowing what was going on, because once again, during COVID, we couldn't get in the house. Every time my apartment manager showed up, she'd be like, "Oh, we got COVID, you can't come in." Okay, but then I listened to some podcast or read an article, I can't remember, early 2021. And I heard about this company coming to Houston, and they focused in managing room rental properties the same way Airbnb manages short-term properties. Okay? I said, that sounds great. I found a property. It took me a month and a half, 2 months. I actually had like 3 or 4 to choose from. I overpaid on this one property that was physically perfect. I was willing to pay a little bit extra over appraisal value to get to a decent property. And I bought a 2-story, 5-bedroom, 2.5 bath, all bedrooms up, detached garage property. Now, if you've got 5 bedrooms and all bedrooms are up, what does that mean about the downstairs if there's no garage?
Yeah, just...
It means there's a hell of a lot of space downstairs.
Dining room, living room, okay? Game room. Yeah.
Right. Dining room, living room, office. We put up some walls, we put in some closets, we expand a half bath into a full bath downstairs, and we turn that thing into an 8-bedroom, 3 full bath. All right. Now that property, I owned that one for a couple of years. I just recently actually sold it off to a client of mine. And I'm trying to look at it right now. That property is in June. That one house that would rent based on rentometer for $1,750 a month rented out for $5,855 in total with 8 bedrooms. So almost $4,000 or more than $4,000 more a month in rent, just numbers wise.
Yeah.
By going with a change of strategy. Same property, minimal rehab costs, a couple of walls. Okay, not much in the way of operational time. I don't think I've been in the property maybe 3 times in the last month. I still got the cleaners that go in. I got landscapers that go in that I'm paying for. But that property's cash flowing $2,500, almost $3,000 a month at this point.
And almost, I don't have a quick calculator, but 3 times what it would normally rent for. So you're tripling,
correct,
the rent. So
your rent, but you're 10xing or more your cash flow.
Your net.
You triple the rent, but it's so much more in the cash flow terms.
Wow. So you're a quick study. Because it's not like I started CoLiving like 13 years ago and slowly building up and doing all this stuff. But you freaking learned about CoLiving in 2021. And you went all in on an 8-bedroom. That is so cool, man. I love the courage. I hope what people take away listening to this is like, sometimes there's a season and a time in a life to ponder and to wait and to think about things and to make sure it's the right decision. And then there's a time to just freaking go all in, and you went all in. You saw a good idea, you pulled the trigger, you made it happen. You learned from your past, your mistakes and lessons, and then boom, here you are, and you made up for it.
Yep, and I'm still pushing forward. And the reason for I'm willing to do this is I got those goals, right? I got those. I don't want to be sitting here and need to have 100 properties before I can retire. If you do this, you need 5, 6 properties with this kind of cash flow, and you're done. Okay. That's what you're looking for. It's
wow.
Just a few.
Guys, I hope this is interesting for everybody listening. This is what kind of strategy. I know we talk a lot about. I love Brandon Turner. I actually had him on the podcast. He was the episode right before you, man. You'll be right after him. But I talked with Brandon Turner, and he's one of his forever rules is the $100 per unit rule. If you have a house, it should net you $100 per unit. Or if you have a multifamily, a lot of times he's talking about multifamily. You should net $100 per unit. But here you are in one unit, practically one single family house. Well, how much was that house? How much did you buy it for?
So that house cost $245.
$245. Yeah, so one house for $245, and rents for $5,855 or whatever. That's the number I wrote down. I think that was the number you told me.
Correct. Yeah, 5,855. Yep.
5,855. Okay, I got it right then. So that is a concept that is called forced cash flow. You are using specialized knowledge, a new strategy, and you are forcing additional cash flow. Similar to the Airbnb model of I'm taking same property and I'm forcing cash flow on it, but a model that is way more stable than Airbnb and is just not as volatile,
Right. I mean, even if I lose half the people of this house, this is an 8-bedroom, but this house is stable at 40% occupancy. It's at least paying all of its bills. I mean, is anything beyond, now some of the expenses scale with number of people, right? More people, higher utilities, you up your cleaning frequency and so forth. But just the more people you get in there, the better off you are. To a cap, at a point, there is the likelihood of you getting that crazy guy in there increases. So I try to be in that 6 to 9 bedroom range.
How do you compare this strategy? Because one of the hottest strategies, definitely through COVID, and I know tons of people still talking about it, was Airbnb. So how do you compare this way of forcing cash flow on a real estate asset to the Airbnb way of forcing cash flow on a real estate asset? And all I mean when I say forced cash flow, just so people understand, is like just finding a way to get more cash out of a deal. Like that's not right. Yeah.
So with any strategy, right, that we're talking about, they're all just tools in a toolbox, right? If you have a property like the property that Dave and Rob are always talking about in Arizona, multi-million-dollar property, I don't think that this would work and give you anywhere near the kind of cash flow they can get by having luxury room rentals for at 50, 60% occupancy, right? But you rent the whole place out.
Like on Airbnb, like a luxury.
Right, Airbnb, like luxuries, in certain areas, but that's a higher upfront investment. The type of property you need to buy to get multi-$1,000 a night rentals, right?
Right.
Some areas have HOAs, so you're not allowed to do short-term rents, right? Or they have restrictions on the number of people you can have in a property. You go up in other parts of Texas, I think you're in Dallas or Austin, they're at 6 people max, or non-blood related, are allowed in a house, right? I know New York has similar rules. They're around there. So you have to evaluate what's available, what's possible. That said, this strategy in my market, Houston, and several surrounding markets, at this point in time, with the high interest rates that are out there, also high property values that are out there right now, is a winner. It's fantastic. Like I'm exceeding most of the rents I'm seeing from Airbnb people. It's much more stable, I believe, than some Airbnbs. I got a buddy that's experimented with Airbnb a little bit, and my property comparable is just more consistent. He has higher highs, but also much lower lows than we do, right? So it's a tool in the toolbox, right? It's steady and high. It's a premium steadiness. That said, you can have things that, as mentioned, I alluded earlier, there can be rocks that can be thrown into the thing and mess it all up, right?
How do you deal with the crazy tenants, Dave? What's your strategy for that?
Yep. So I show up and we have that hard way, easy way conversation. Listen, it's not working out for you. This really isn't like what you want. You don't want to be dealing with other people. Maybe you want to move on. If I need to, I scale that up to here's a little bit of cash to make it easier for you to move on. And then I would scale it to get the fuck out, like go, right? At some point, but we have the conversations. It's not everyone. This lifestyle isn't for everybody. It's not going to work. A lot of people are enticed by the idea of, oh, it's cheaper for me to live here. I get all these qualities, but if they're not willing to do what's expected of you and be a type of person that can live in the environment, you're better off moving off for you and for everybody else. But I have had issues where the crazy guy caused 3 or 4 other people to leave before we were able to rectify the situation, right? It sounds bad, but at the same time, I told you, I'm fine. I'm not taking any money out of my pocket, even as low as 40% occupancy. Right. And I can get more people in there very quickly. This is very desired in my market at the points that we are. And I'm not at a cheap price point. I mean, it's almost $6,000 per month with 8 bedrooms. We're in the 175. 250
per week
range per week per room coming through. Some of the others I've seen are in the $99.
Do you charge per week?
Yeah.
Is that how you're charging right now? And do you manage this yourself?
Yeah. So I use a company, like I said, that they're like the Airbnb in the room rental space. We're working on launching our own type of a company that'll be going live here in a couple of weeks, and for a higher price point. Because the company I'm using now, they target, and I don't know, can I say other companies' names, or is that no bueno? Yeah, so I use a company called Pad Split today.
Yeah.
And they're focused on working class, right? There's a couple other guys that are out there that are starting to use them, and they're talking about them out there. I think Mosby started like hyping them. A couple others are looking at that. So they work very well for a particular type of property, for a particular type of tenant. Right. We're launching our own betterrooms.co for CoLiving. In a couple of weeks here, we're just finding this, and we're using Boostly as the back end on that. So that's fantastic. Another thing we heard through Bigger Pockets.
And why are you? And look, I mean, we're just curiosity. Like I know a bunch of the people at Pad Split. I'm currently, I have my own property management company. I know people kind of split down the middle, but let's just be real transparent. That's what I want the listeners to hear, is like our transparency on like, why are you launching your own and not using Pad Split at this current moment?
All right. So our properties, mine and some of my partners, have always been amongst the best on Pad Split. They're the best constructed, the best managed. We know what we're doing. We ensure there's proper parking. The rooms are of a decent size. The amenities are top notch. And we show our tenants love and appreciation, and we give them a great place to live. We provide a higher level of service. Now, unfortunately, because when someone goes in the Pad Split platform, they see my price points at the 175, 225. I want to go higher, compared to others that are providing a more marginalized product where the only lever they can pull to compete is price point. Right? If I'm right next to that in the same map, they're like, oh, why would I pay this guy 175 versus this other guy can pay $99 a week to? Right?
Right.
Well, ideally, and honestly, living with us is a better situation. But that's leading us to look at launching our own, so we can have our own market space, right? Setting our own price points for comparables. And we're not going to be comparing with what we're looking for is $300, $350 a week property compared to a $99 a week property. Because with our new builds we're putting together, we're talking about all master bedrooms, talking about, chef's kitchens. The living rooms are going to do up like coffee shops. So, little clusters of tables, the TVs. It's going to be nice. I'm probably going to be putting a pool in the backyard. So something that's comparable to a studio apartment in our area, price point wise, but with all amenities, with a cleaner, with a landscaper, all taken care of for you. you're living in the lap of luxury for what somebody else is paying is for a studio. Is what we're looking to offer. So that's why we're separating. We're just kind of bifurcating the market.
How I kind of see you is you're looking to provide, a little bit more of a luxurious service, and then maybe Pad Split is really targeting, at least right now, which is more of the affordable housing type crowd that they're targeting, the lower socioeconomic class that,
which is desperately needed, which we found.
Needed.
Yes.
Yeah. Got it. Well, one of the things I love about you, and by the way, I freaking love the coffee shop idea. That's so cool because we don't have a ton of common space in these. Still, like, hey, we want to make it look like a little coffee shop. That's so cool. I'm going to share that with my.
I don't want to have couches where someone can sleep on it, so that's why you get the idea of like chairs and stuff, right? So you don't want to do like a traditional living room, but you want to have something to set it apart a little bit, right?
That's great. So what I love about you, man, is like here you are in 2021. You learn about this model. You quickly learn from your mistakes from your first renter. And by the way, like, your failures, one of my pastor always says that, a setback is nothing more than a setup for a comeback. And I love that saying, man. It's like, because it's kind of like what happened in your situation. You had this setback, but really was just setting you up for like a pretty good comeback in terms of like, you learned your lesson and now you went into an asset class that's way higher cash flow. So what's cool about that though, is you didn't stop there. And this is the real reason, man, I wanted to have you on this podcast. I hope if people loved that first half of the podcast, like this next 20 minutes is going to be absolutely freaking gold. So here you are, you're like, cool, I can do this. I can force this cash flow. I can make this happen. But then it's like, what I love about your mindset, man, is you're like, but how can I do it better? And I'm telling you, like what I've done in 13 years to get to the point to where I'm now looking at building these, you've done in freaking 2 or 3. And it's impressive as hell, man.
Well, it's hard to find something that actually works. That's really what first hit my ping of, all right, what am I going to do? To it. Because that first property I got, all bedrooms up, there's not many of those. You can't find a decent property. You go out there, you look in the market at a price point that you want to capture, your 3-bedroom, 2-bath, or here we've got a lot of monster houses where people just patched onto them over time. But it's Houston. And Houston has crappy land. So you have bad foundations. And now I'm having to put in time, money, effort, concern around buying a house and having a bad foundation. A lot of the operational concerns that I've run into is what led me to look towards new build.
Wow.
In order to hit so
it was more operational and foundation more than it was because like people are impressed, and there's nobody on this call that cannot be impressed with the cash flow. A $1,750 house that would normally rent for $1,750 rents for $5,855. If that's not impressive to you, you should not be listening to this podcast, right? Like get off the call, stop listening right now. But you went. So I guess my question is, so you're telling me it was more the operations, or was it that you went and you looked at new builds and said, holy shit, this could be even more cash flow? And we'll get into that in a moment. But is that you're saying no, it's just because it's like new and it's got better construction? Is that what you're saying?
I can build something that meets my needs. Why does anyone build their own custom home? Why do you build? Because your wife wanted that larger closet for her shoes next to your gun safe, next to that's why you build, right? And here I'm wanting to build because I want that perfection. There's nowhere on market where I can find a duplex with 6 master bedrooms per side. I'm going masters because they drive more revenue per bedroom. Right. In the space that I need in a location that's going to work for me.
Right.
Right. So I'm building to meet my operational needs. Now, what have I found? What are those operational points? That might be intriguing to people. Like, what have I learned over the last couple of years that have led me down my path here?
Please.
First of all, a lot of the people that we're working with that are our tenants, they work from home. And a lot of these work from home jobs require stable internet connections. In fact, I should probably run a line myself, given the performance on this call here. So some of my places, I've got Ethernet cables tacked along the ceiling. I've gone in, I've run more Ethernet lines. So for the new build, what am I doing? I'm building Ethernet cables to every room. During the build process, we're running internet lines just like you do in an office. It's going to go right where we planned out the office. the office part of the room. So every room is going to have Ethernet. We're building in higher quality smoke detector, so I'm not having to change batteries every couple of months, right? We've got the doorknobs themselves. I've been experimenting for the last year with different types of electronic doorknobs, find ones that last longer and are at a price point I can afford. Because I hate having to go in there with batteries and swap batteries. That's the worst 2 o'clock phone call. I can't get in my room. Please come let me in.
Hey, I gotta just ask, man, which one did you find? Because we have one and we love it, and it took us like 4 years to find the one we love.
So we use Milock, M-I-L-O-C-K. They had a good point. That said, those are the ones I'm experimenting away from. I haven't really hit on a good solid one. What have you found?
We use these ones that are. I'll have to send you. I think it's Slodge.
The Slodge for your bedroom doors.
But it's an interior, doorknob.
Interior Slodge.
Let me see. But they have a little keypad on the end. So no, you know what? It's not Slodge. Let me see. If you just Google interior keyless entry,
it looks like a regular door handle with a keypad. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You buy them from like Wayfair. Yeah, it's the company. Yeah. This is not the brand we use because I think this brand my team has been saying goes out a lot, but we love Signstek, Signstek, and it's like a gold here. Yeah, it's been a pretty nice one, man, and it's just it's really slick. Let me see if I can share this real fast.
Yeah, I've seen the same form design you're talking about here.
You see this one?
Yep, I've seen those quite a bit. How are those lasting for you? Are they lasting for a good long time?
Yeah, honestly, I'd have to ask my property manager. I think we found a better brand than this, but this is still what they look like, and they're slick, man. When you go in, it's like you're going into a safe.
Right. It looks nice.
It's like super cool, dude. Yeah. Okay, so that's the door lock.
Now you want the digital ones because I've seen people using the mechanical door locks.
Yeah.
But to change those, you literally have to take them apart and change the mechanical pins. So whenever you get a new tenant,
what's great about these is that they come. Every single lock comes with this little battery pack. I don't know if the ones you're using, this little exterior battery pack, and we just keep one in a spot in the kitchen. So if anybody's battery die, you just freaking plug it in, and it gives it enough juice. It's like a little exterior pack, gives enough juice to get in. So we don't have to take that call.
And then you tell them to put more AA batteries or whatever in there, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's one of the requirements that I have for my new locks that I'm looking for. But also, I'm actually looking at maybe spending the $200, $300 per lock for like a Slodge version or something with an app so that I can actually monitor and see when the batteries are dying ahead of time. Because the ones we're looking at right now, they're not smart. They're punch codes, but they don't report back to anything.
Right.
But then you need Z-Link because if you do the Wi-Fi ones, the batteries die like that. So you need a Z-Link or a Bluetooth or something, low power consumption. Anyway, a lot on locks, guys. Locks are important, okay?
Locks are very important.
I have seen other operators that they just have the butter knife locks on their bedrooms. You know what I'm talking about? They're just the regular passage lock. You're like, I can lock it, but you can open it up with a butter knife or whatever. Yeah. And they have these on their room rentals.
Yeah.
And half the time, they'll rent a room out to Billy. Billy shows up to move into his room. He opens the door, and there's Jake spread out naked on his bed because his buddy Sam across the hallway said, "You can sleep there. No one's in that room right now. Why don't you just crash here for a couple of nights?"
Exactly.
And then the guy's like, "Where's my room?" Right? So that's funny. Fantastic. I think, if I remember, you don't furnish your bedrooms, right? You furnish the common areas, but not the bedrooms?
Just the common areas, not the bedrooms. You know, my whole thing is that the room is the new apartment, and I want people to move into their room like they would move into an apartment. I want them to have that feeling of ownership. I don't want this to feel like a hotel. Like I don't want it to feel like a hotel at all. It's like when you come in,
you feel like it gives them some more permanence. They've moved in, they spent all that time and energy getting their buddies to help them move their stuff in there. They're not going to go anywhere.
Now, how
there's a lot to be said.
I see a lot of people doing like, okay, and hey, if you need a furnished room, it's a $200 a month charge still, additional every month. I think that's kind of a cool way to kind of mix the two, but we are not pre-furnishing the rooms, like I want people to have that sense of ownership.
We went the other way with ours. I foresee us continuing to go that, where we have furnished rooms. That said, we have a couple of levels of furnishings.
Okay.
I think for me, I think it's good. It provides a commonality of experience. It allows me to, I think rooms photograph well with furniture, or better with furniture in the rooms. It drives people home. Plus, we found here in Houston, a lot of people are just moving in. They need a place. They just moved to the area. They don't have stuff. They're not looking to go out and buy stuff. They're looking for a place they can call home for a while they save up for something. And typically they end up finding that it's such a better service living with me that they don't want to move on. So they just stay with me for a while. Like, one question people might have is occupancy floating around their head. Oh, you're making so much money, but how long are people staying? Like, what's the tenancy rate?
Yeah.
That first house I talked about, I have people that have been there since it launched in 2021. So 2 years, 2.5 years, almost three for some of them. They've been there, right? So provide that. We keep people in there. Anyway, back on furniture. We provide 3 levels right now of furniture. So there's the basic. It's just the bed, the mattress, the full mattress protector, a nightstand, a lamp, and some place for your clothes, right? We'll have blinds on the windows. That's our basic. Now, for another $50 a week, on top of that is our premium level of finishes. That's where I add that desk and that office chair for the home for the worker. I add a 32-inch TV mounted on the wall. I add the blackout drapes. That gets added at the premium level. That makes me another $200 a month, like you're saying.
Wow!
Every month on that stuff. And I've got that standardized, so I've got stuff that's been there, and that's a 3-month payback. 3 months. And that pays for everything. And then from there, it's just gravy.
That's great.
And I can reuse that for the next person if I need to, right?
Right.
And then we got the luxury level. So beyond that, now I'm putting in that 45, that 48, or the 50-inch TV instead of the 32 at the luxury level. I'm putting in a thicker mattress. I'm putting in carpets on the ground. We're putting in more storage at the luxury level. So depending on what people are looking for, and that's another $100 on top of the base rate. We're able to. I've got shared bath bedrooms that are renting for the same or more as a master bedroom today, just based on the level of furniture in there. It just gives me another level to pull.
It gives you another lever to pull. It allows you to force cash flow even more. That's what it really does.
It's so fantastic. Let's talk about the cheapest rehab upgrade I can do.
Yeah, no, I love it, man. Let's talk about the actual mechanics of this build. So you're building, you said, so it's a duplex. It's a side-by-side duplex.
Correct.
It is 6 master bedrooms, which is, I think, one of the big things that you kind of said really quickly, but that's super key, is that, private baths do rent easy and quick, and people love private baths. And so you're building a lot of private baths. Yeah. And you rent them for a lot more. So you're doing 6 masters on one side and 6 masters on the other side. How many rooms total will this thing be? Maybe just tell us a little bit about the actual building itself. And then I'd love for people to just kind of get an overall feel. And I know one of your goals, I said this at the beginning, but I'll say it here publicly, is to raise a fund for these. So I'd really love for people to understand kind of how some of the numbers look on a property like this.
Not a problem. All right. So
by the way, this is so cool. This is so cool. Like I do this all day, every day, and I'm still geeking out about this. Thank you so much for sharing. This is great stuff.
I'm very happy with where we're going.
And if people are listening to this, and you think somebody needs to hear this, or somebody needs to get in touch with Dave, or just listen to this episode, share this episode. This is a gold one. Dave is dropping all kinds of knowledge bombs. He's just giving us the behind the scenes look at exactly how his operation is going. And it's pretty damn cool.
All right, so what are we going to talk about here? All right, so the property we're talking about, my first new build, is the first one. This is me just getting started in this, and that's important to understand. It's difficult for anybody to get into a new build, right? You may have run into this yourself, Sam. I believe that's your first new build you're working on as well. No one wants to take a chance. It doesn't matter who you are. It's very difficult to get a new build. That's why when I'm talking about trying to find ways of funding this, it's to work through and get past those institutionalized hangups. But this property sits on a 12,000 square foot lot. Now it is 60 feet wide, 200 feet deep. Why 60 feet wide? That was a requirement for the property. Reason for that is I have parking in the front. All right. Now this is Houston. It's not the same in every market. But in Houston, everyone drives. We are the biggest city in the country by geographical size. Maybe not number of people. We're going to get there eventually, probably. But it's very big. And our public transportation infrastructure sucks, right?
Same with Charlotte.
Houston's great for stuff. It's not so good for people. Let's just be honest, right? It's great for making money, for having it's just not people friendly. So everyone has to have a car. So if you're going to do that, you want to make sure parking is a thing. So we have space for 18 parking spots on the lot. They're being built. Okay, now because of that, 60 feet wide. You have your 20-foot wide driveway right up the middle, and you got space on both sides of that for 9 cars per side going in. That's the first half of the property. Beyond that, now I have my house. And my house is 5,200 square feet in total.
5,200 square feet duplex. So you got 2,600 square foot per side.
Per side, right? It's a mirror image. So I don't have like one side a different size, which I've seen some duplexes, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so 2,600 per side. Within each duplex, I have, each unit of the duplex, I have 6 master bedrooms, 2 downstairs, 4 upstairs. I've got a server room to run all my Ethernet cables to, my internet and everything. Not many people have a server room, right? We're putting a laundry room upstairs as well. Now that's for my cleaners to use. That's going to not be it's one of those laundry units that are like their hallway access. It's not an actual room. But that's for my cleaners to work with. And then downstairs, like I mentioned, we've got the two more master bathrooms. We've got 2 more rooms. We have an office and a flex room that both have closets. And there's another there's another bathroom downstairs, full bathroom, separate. Those may or may not be bedrooms. On the plans, they're an office and a flex room.
On the plans, they're an office and a flex room. But I may use them as bedrooms. So as far as the city is concerned, you did permit these as 2 6-bedroom duplexes. Is that right?
Correct.
Got it.
They're designed as 6-bedroom duplexes.
But each side, I just want everybody to really understand this. Each side has an additional 2 rooms that you could use as bedrooms, an office. So it's 6 on one side, plus an office, plus a flex room. And does that include a common area as well? Like a kitchen, living room kind of area?
And then at the very front of the house, when you walk in, we have our chef's kitchen on the right-hand side, double fridge, because with possibly 6 to 8 people living there, you need more fridge space. Large eat-out island in the center, plenty of cabinet space, a nice pantry, and then to the left of that entryway, we've got we're going to call the cafe style living room. Okay, 65-inch TV on the wall, little chairs, reading lamps. Probably put a couple bookshelves in there. I've got a ton of books. I'm a giant nerd. Probably have every original Star Wars book. So we're gonna throw some books in there, and that's per side. So you're talking about 16 bedrooms, 14 baths, building. Right now, I still have room in the back beyond that to possibly throw up a couple of ADUs past this lot. So Houston is looking at revamping its ordinance to allow for ADUs on the property. Much easier. So if that happens, I still have another, it's about 2,400 square feet in the back to put up 1 or 2 more buildings with more bedrooms possibly. Remember, I've got 18 parking spaces. I have, 16 planned tenants. Now, one thing
is there street parking on that street too, or no?
Yeah, you could. I'm not going to recommend it, but that's why we have all of our parking off the street, right? So we can get more people in there. I love yurts. I might try a yurt in the back just to see what happens. Like a little fenced off separate yurt area.
You're such a creative dude. So
Why not? Yurts are cheap and they can make you money.
You have maximized this. You've created a site plan. Now I'm assuming this plot of land that you bought, and I really do want to talk about numbers here for a moment. I'm assuming this plot of land that you bought is zoned multifamily. Is that correct? Or what is it? How is this plot of land zoned?
What zoning?
I mean, zoning is just like what
we don't have zoning in Houston.
Is that right?
In Houston, you can have a school next to a shopping mall, next to a strip club, next to a church,
right?
next to a daycare.
God bless you guys over there.
Across the street from an old folks home. It's fantastic. So we don't have much in the way of zoning.
So that's not a big hurdle for you to cross then in Houston. That's insane, man. No. Okay, co-living for the win.
There are some areas that have been like turned into commercial zone somehow, but yeah, it's not a real thing. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Cool. That answers my question. So anybody looking to do this,
and also at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I've got stamped city plans. Like it's all been done. It took 4 to 5 months. It got done. We pushed it through.
Yeah.
And that's what we're looking. That's what we're working with.
It's amazing. So let's talk about the numbers, man. How much did you buy the lot for? What is it going to cost you to build this? What are you going to rent the rooms for? Like, let's give people kind of because again, kind of going back to what we said earlier, the numbers on on a single family house that you converted to co-living are pretty damn impressive. What does this look like?
All right. Can I share my screen? How do I do that here?
Yeah. So go down to the bottom and then we'll click present. And then it'll ask you which
share screen.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this in your car, this might be one to come back to and check out on YouTube. And actually, look, we've shared screens. I shared screens about the locks earlier, and so Dave's about to share a screen on the numbers for this property, which I am excited to see. Let's go.
Now, you've heard of this little company called Bigger Pockets, right?
Bigger Pockets, yes.
You've heard of them. They have this little thing called their calculators. So you should be seeing a calculator right here.
So,
all right. So this property, and before I go and tweak anything, right? It's a new build. It's projecting over $4,000 a month in cash flow, and this was with pessimistic numbers.
Net cash flow.
Correct.
Not gross income.
This is in my pocket, spending money to bribe my wife to let me go fishing. Okay, this is.
So let me get people to get a real clear picture of this. 2 of these homes. 2, not 5 like Dave was saying earlier, just 2, and you're making 6 figures. You have a 6-figure passive income off 2 of these homes. That is freaking insane, man. It's so cool.
It's not enough though. My goal is a boat, a big boat, like a real big boat. So that's why I got the 5. Okay. And we're looking at 19% cash on cash for a new build. Okay. Now this is $4,000 in cash flow, not a multifamily property.
Yeah.
This isn't needing to save up millions of dollars to build this to get $4,000 in cash flow.
Right.
All right. Here we're projecting $17K in rental income. I'm going to break that down for you as far as where that's coming from. About $12,000 in expenses. Yeah. And I've had to pull together about $271K in cash. Okay.
Yep.
Now that's going to be our land. It's our build. It's everything else.
Yeah.
All right. And that's with the pessimistic. And actually, this is an actual. So the loan I'm working on right now is 8.25% interest rates.
Yep.
It's a build to perm loan, which you can't get really anywhere these days.
Wow.
Which is why I've been spending so long working to get that.
Yeah. I want to talk about who you're using for that.
Fantastic. I'll get to that actually we can talk about that. So I'm using a loan broker. His name's Jordan. If anyone's interested in connecting with him, reach out to me and I can link you together. Reaching out to me, I'm sure we'll mention it again later, but just Dave at Weir, WERELLC.com. Happy to talk about pretty much anything in this area. Okay.
So what does while we're on that subject, let's dive into that just for a minute longer. What does the loan to perm, how does that actually, so they're giving you what percentage of the construction costs, and then how will they refinance to a permanent loan? And what
there is no
percentages look like?
There is no refinance, which is awesome. There is, so it's 8.3 period. So 8.25% period is what they're charging me. And so they are paying for 75% of the build costs. Okay. So I need to have significant amounts of cash for the rest of it. Then there's some cost for the loan. It comes out to about $30,000 that I'm paying them for the loan there. And it's just 8.25% is the same interest rate that I'm paying for all the cash I'm using as I do a draw, as well as for the next 30 years. It's just a set rate. So these guys, I understand.
So just say, and I know this is not the actual number, but let's just say the whole thing costs you $1 million. They're basically saying, we'll give you $750,000, pay for the loan costs, and it's 8.3%, and it's 30 years from when you start. Is that, do I have it right?
Well, 30 years. So the 30-year bit starts once it's completed.
Got it.
Right. So it's your build time plus 30 years is your loan. Now, these guys, they do have a prepayment penalty for the first 3 years. If I sell it or refinance it within those first 3 years, they're going to smack me a little bit. But you run the numbers and you see if it's worth it to sell it at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, at least I'll be with these guys for at least 3 years. Maybe interest rates dip down to the 5%. I don't think, guys, if you're hoping for 2 and 3% again every time in your life, I don't think you're going to see it. Maybe 5s.
Right.
But that's what at some point I may be able to refinance down to that level.
Wow. So that's a pretty cool product. But basically, you've got this thing. Basically, you've got 25% of what it's going to cost you in the build. That's pretty much okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
So I'll say this, Dave. I reached out because I think there are some people, maybe they want to build. I reached out to a local lender. His name is Jay, and he only lends at North Carolina, South Carolina. And I said, hey man, if I paid for a commercial appraisal, would you be willing to value one of my co-living properties based on the income of it, kind of like a multifamily property would be, which is based on the income of it versus just
the NOI and NOI based calculation. Right.
Yeah. NOI. And for people who don't know, that's the net operating income, which is going to be, very favorable because we have such high net operating income. $4,300 a month. And he said, I could. He said we'd have to pay the $2,000 for the commercial appraisal, and then we would be able to do that. And so I said, wow. So you're doing a little calculation. Maybe talk us through what you're doing, because I think I know what you're doing. This would be really great.
Okay. So in this case, we're talking about my cash flow of $4,324 a month, right? That's my NOI over 12 months. So 4,324 times 12, right? $51,000. Now, I think I must have done something wrong here.
But that includes your mortgage. That has to include that 4,324 includes your mortgage.
Right,
payment.
that includes my mortgage. You're right.
So you got to take that out, I think.
Into that. So let's say our mortgage interest rate is at 0%. All right.
Is that right?
So we're not paying any interest rates on it, and we still got the actual loan term.
And then your loan amount. Yeah.
There you go.
There we go. So without a mortgage payment, this thing is cash flowing $7,879 a month without a mortgage payment.
Correct. All right. So times 12, your yearly NOI calculation, right?
Yeah. 94,548 for those of you that are listening. That's what this is going to bring in every year if you didn't have a mortgage payment, which this is how the banks calculate the net operating income.
Now, if you're an 8% cap rate, that's saying $1.1 million is the valuation of this property.
1.18, so almost 1.2 million.
Almost $1.2 million would be the value.
And what would you? So imagine a bank coming in and saying, well, based on the income of this property, it's worth 1.2 million. And how much is it? Yeah, and if there was a 5% cap rate, the bank would 1.9 million. So Dave, here's potentially the $1 million question. Mm-hmm. What is it costing you to build this thing?
This property is costing me $625,000 to build, plus the land cost of $78,000, so almost $710,000. Okay.
Wow, man. Wow.
All right. So that's actually a pretty high price. I've got the purchase price $625,000 here. That's what the appraisal value came in at $625,000. So it's appraising at the build cost.
Right.
Okay. So they're pretty much dead on. Now my builder is telling me that our build cost is currently a bit high. It's got quite a bit of contingency built in. He's a little wary of how market fluctuations are going to affect us over the next couple of months. So he's got some prices inflated for now. This this build could be as low as $510,000. So we've got quite a lot of
contingencies built in.
Contingencies built into that. All right. So if that was, whoa, what is that? Oh, because I'm doing that. Okay. All right. So at our 512 loan amount.
And this calculator that you're using is pretty cool. If you go to biggerpockets.com, it's on biggerpockets.com. You can go to, how do you find this if people want to use this calculator?
Yeah, you go to Bigger Pockets. Now, if you're not a member, you get 5 free uses. You go up to the tools, and your calculators are all right here. Now, I'm using the rental property calculator, but they've got plenty of other calculators coming through.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
All right, but let us go back and undo all of this. Okay.
And Dave, while you're doing that, what will you rent each room for on a master there?
Yep. So each master we're looking at, let's go to the prices we've got put in here. So you can insert them. So here, the calculator only works with monthly prices. All right. So I've got a couple of different room types built into this house. There's my main suites. They're a little bit larger. They have larger closets. They're going to rent for that $300 a week, $1,200 a month on average. Okay. Right. The junior suites right now, I'm being pessimistic with these numbers. I'd actually like to see this around $1,500 or $1,400. Mm-hmm. My junior suites, they have, these are those rooms that are right now, they're on the first floor. They're a little bit smaller. Their closets are a little bit smaller. They're going to rent for a little bit less. And then that office and flex room I mentioned, right? Yeah. I've got it $750 a month right now. So
great.
And then these are all pessimistic. I expect to be able to get higher numbers than this before this analysis. I wanted to see what it was like at my lower projection rates.
That is awesome, man. Wow.
Yeah, this is Houston. This is Texas. We don't have income tax. So what we have instead is property tax. You drop one, you got to do the other. So we have some pretty high property taxes coming through here. So I'm pretty high on those property taxes. Insurance has been going through the absolute roof lately. I don't know where it's like where you're at, Sam, but we're
cheap.
We have
cheap in North Carolina.
High insurance. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a $500,000 house for $814 a year.
Oh wow!
It's like $70 a month. Like it's $58 a month, I think, is what it came to, or something. So okay, but so you're $400 a month.
I've got single families over $2,000 a year.
Yeah,
like it's ridiculous. So we got that. We've got our repairs and maintenance now. 1.25% seems like a real low repairs and maintenance budget, right? But keep in mind. That percentage is against a huge income, and it's a new build. I shouldn't have much in the way of repairs and maintenance.
Right.
I like to set 8% vacancy because what is 8%? 8% is 1/12. So 1 month worth of vacancy is what I calculate into it. Mm-hmm. So I'm always using the 8% vacancy rule in here. There should not be any capital expenditures. I'm not going to be worrying about saving up for the first couple of years. Management fees. Well, they're going to be a bit higher. They're not going to be the 10% that you're looking at for a single family property. Your 20%, keep in mind, your manager is taking care of the property a lot more. They're going to be there more often. They have to deal with possible Susie ate my banana type issues. Mm-hmm. Like Billy keeps looking at me funny type problems. It's a lot more hand-holding. It's not too bad. Given the amount of money you're making, but I have had a couple of those 2:00 in the morning phone calls. Can you turn the AC down or turn the AC up? I'm locked out of my room type things.
Right.
So we're working on solutions to those as well. But so that's 20%. Now, one of the things that I do is I have a property management company as well. I currently own 2 of these properties. I sold one off to my client who owns several in the area. I mentor several other people that are doing this in the Houston area at meetups every month. So I have my own management company as well.
Right.
So, betterrooms.co is going to take care of these properties for some people.
That's cool.
We then have your utilities. Now they're going to be a bit high. $600 for electricity for one of my houses is pretty standard. My personal residence is under $200. My personal residence also has an AC set to 78 because my wife won't let me have it lower. And unlike, I guess, other houses I've heard of, I don't, as the husband, have any control over the AC. I thought that was supposed to be the one thing I had control of in the house that I do not.
I think the TV, man. I think that's just about all. It's the TV.
No,
and then,
my wife won't even let us have the TVs in much of the house.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
My wife is scary. Anyway, so we got that. Gas, water, sewer is there. So then you got your cleaning. Now you got other things. So you got utilities, but you have things like cleaning, internet, lawn care. I provide. This might be probably going to be obviously absolutely different from what you do as well. And it's different than most people, is I provide common paper products. So paper towels, toilet paper are provided. In some of my houses, I provide things like dishwasher, detergent. Some soaps are provided as well. Why is that? Right? It's harmony.
All the luxury service.
I'm searching for harmony. And that's even in my standard, my more standard homes, some of the ones that I'm managing. Cool. If I provide it, you don't have to worry about Susie being mad at Billy because he used the last of the toilet paper.
Right.
And she's very upset because I just bought that or whatever. And then later she stabs him. Like, I've met other property managers doing what we do. And they're like, yeah, we only had 7 stabbings last year. How'd you do? It was a great year for us. And I'm like, you had 7 stabbings? That's a real thing that people are tracking and seeing improvement on and being happy because they have single digit numbers instead of a 0. But I'm searching for harmony. Paper towels, toilet paper. People are very unusually grateful for that. Just a little bit extra.
That's amazing. I love that.
Which is one of the things I would say my current management style is go a little bit extra. Okay. Anyway, so back to this. What are we looking at here? $4,324. Now remember, I have my own property management company. That's $3,220. So if you have one of these houses and you manage it yourself, we said earlier, 2 properties gets you your 6 figures, right? Now, if this is all you want to do, if you want to build one of these, or you want to find one of these, and you want to manage it yourself, you want to just put it up on apartments.com, you want to find the people yourself, you want to deal with the late night questions, you have that 0% management fee, right? What are you looking at? You're looking at $7,644 a month, okay? Coming into your pocket. Because you're still already paying for utilities, you're still already setting money aside for your vacancy, your CapEx, and so forth. That's all there.
Yeah, and guys, that includes all those other expenses.
Conceivably,
that includes the paper products. That includes, repairs. That includes a vacancy rate. So it's even if you manage this yourself, you still he put an 8% vacancy rate in there that you could have. So I think that is absolutely stellar. Wow, man.
You set 2 of these up yourself and you're good. You're good to go. You mow your own lawns and you're going to save money on the lawn care. You clean it yourself. You do your own room flips. If this is all you did, you're fine. If you still take vacations, right? If you have one of these, if this is it, this is your only job. You can still take your vacation. You go for a week to Mexico for a week. You have somebody move out. Who cares? You lost $800 or $300 for that week. You come back, you pick it up, you keep going. It's nothing if you were to run it yourself. One of the things I want to do, so I got my properties I'm building here. I want to build more of these for myself. But we're starting to design of what I would call the house hackers 10 years to $1 million. Okay. And that simple idea there is you come in, we have a plan that we're working on, 6 bedrooms down, 4 bedrooms up. You live on the up for the first year. We build you the same exact house on another lot. You go away for a couple of days. You come back, and when you come back, you just drive to the other address. When you drive to the other address, we've moved all of your stuff to your next house. It's the same house. We've moved your furniture. We've moved your paintings. We've moved everything for you. Then we've gone back and we've rehabbed the house you were just in to add 2 more bedrooms upstairs, and we started renting. And what do? You go from 10 years, we're building you're 5 or 10% down every year with your house hacking, and you end up with 10, 12 bedroom duplexes in 10 years, bringing you in your $1 million is the overall goal. In both revenue, equity, and so forth.
Insane.
That's the idea.
Well, man, we got to wrap up here, but this is absolutely just a stunner strategy. I am excited about the groundbreaking thing the things that you're doing, how you're leading this co-living game. And I'm excited, man. I think that you've really opened a lot of people's eyes. At the very least, I hope people are taking away just the power of the numbers from the investor side. And we spent a lot of time today talking about the investors side of this deal. But, there is a lot to be said about just what this provides and the affordable housing that it's providing. I really hammer that home in almost all my episodes. I've gotten, some haters out there that'll talk about like, hey, you're just cramming people in a house. But I think, when you talk about your living room being like a coffee shop and you have these chef's kitchens and these Ethernet cables, like, man, you're doing the right thing by your tenants too, by these members. And I think that is a super, super, super cool thing. So I want to just wish you all the best. I want to wish you all the success as you do this, as you help other people. So I just would love, man, my final question, just to kind of get the word out there, is just maybe tell people, how do they get in touch with you? I know one of your big dreams is to raise a fund and raise capital to be able to build even more of these. And then, of course, really cool hearing about your vision of helping people. And actually, I'd love to talk with you offline about partnering with you, because I have a lot of clients that are looking to invest in other areas, and I'd love to be able to refer them to you. We have a white glove service, but instead of them all buying here in Charlotte, they want to buy in other areas. And we're looking for different affiliates so that the people that join my white glove service can buy with you or build with you and have some of that capital as but having good partners. So that's something I think we could potentially work on in the future. Yeah. But tell them a little bit about how they get in touch with you and maybe who would be an ideal person to connect with you.
So my name is Dave Edwards. I'm Dave, D-A-V-E, at Weir, WERELLC.com. We have Weir Management, WERENGMT.com is one of our websites. I'll be launching betterrooms.co in the next couple of weeks. That's going to be a portal for people that are looking for our rooms. We're listing them there, as well as allow investors to reach out as well. But the best way to get a hold of me right now, honestly, the very best way is text me. Don't call. I won't answer. But text me at 917-482-5894 and just say, I saw you on Sam's podcast, and I'll certainly be there to reach out. I'm not sure how smart that was giving out my phone number, but 917-482-5894, why not? See where it takes us, okay? As far as who should be doing this, my most ideal investor right now would be someone that knows if they want to be an equity or if they know they want to be just a cash investor, cash in and come out. Somebody that has an idea of the terms that they're looking for, so we can evaluate together. Just somebody that knows their line of the business, right? Happy to talk to anybody, try and work to hammer out a deal on these things. I've talked to some other investors that each have a piece of it. We can try to form an LLC. If we can $100,000 here, $100,000 there, put it together. But easiest, obviously, for me would be someone that has, the full $500,000-$600,000 to put together for the build phase, and then we refinance it out into a bank, and you get your cash back, and we continue paying you back till you get all your money back. Would be the easiest, just because, Sam, as you've probably seen, as I've seen, it is a pain to go through the financing section. It took me 6 months to go through getting the plans developed and approved by the city, and it's taken me so far another 6-7 months to get financing finalized. I had a couple of banks that were good, and then they fell apart. So it's just, we're working through that.
Well, you're a perseverer, man.
Oh yeah, gonna keep pushing, because it's you see the numbers. I'm an operator. I'm an operator guy. I love getting out there, getting this done, experimenting, figuring it out. I'm happy to be the boots for anybody that wants to wants to get her done. So,
dude.
All right.
Absolutely stunner. Absolutely amazing. Thanks for bringing the fire today. Thanks for being so transparent. Thanks for bringing this. This is going to help a lot of people. And I think I think this episode, maybe of any of the other episodes I've filmed, man, I think it's going to inspire and open people's eyes in a huge freaking way. So thanks for being on, brother. And it was great to connect with you.
Not a problem. Thank you for having me on.
I told you it didn't disappoint, did it? That freaking was badass. Sorry a little bit. I feel like I cursed more on that episode than I ever normally curse. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I've had a long day, but we were just loose and going, and it was real and it was authentic. If you like this episode, please share it with some other people. Please make sure that you give us a 5-star review if you had a great experience. If you didn't have a 5-star experience, then still give us a 5-star review, or just enjoy and share it with someone that you feel like this would benefit from. Thank you so much for your support.